Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Brightworks. You might already notice something is a bit off about this Supreme Straits match. Indeed, these players are spawning in wrong spots. No, of course, it's the lava. The entire water for the entire map has been replaced with lava all over the place. You can see the northern and southern seas have been completely covered in lava. We have these little ponds back here, also completely filled to the brim with lava. Yeah, it'll be really difficult to build a navy on this map, it would appear, with all of the water been replaced with this sticky, thick, molten magma. You can see the teams here trying to coordinate and figure out exactly what they're going to go for. It looks like we're beginning to form an Illuminati of sorts. I suppose what else can you do when you have no water on your map but to form an Illuminati? Yeah, this should be really interesting to see. I'm not sure exactly how big a difference this will be. Of course, these seas usually play a really big role in these games here, so I feel like this might cause quite a bit of a mix-up. Definitely going to see quite a few more backline players this time around here. Sorry to erase the beautiful drawing there, but we do have to clear up the board so that all of you lovely folk right there on the other side of this screen can see what's actually going on. So spawning in our southwestern side, we have Leo Rio 3371, our red player here, representing the red team in the brilliant bright red. Going to be taking a frontline position as a Cortex commander, going for that bot lab right away, very nice to see. Pussy lava, that's very nice. Spawning in the northeastern side, I almost said northwestern, that would be right in the middle of the lava lakes here. Man, this guy just more interested in drawing than playing the game, huh? Let's see some APM spared for building your base up. How about that? Spawning in the northeastern side here for our blue team, representing blue in this brilliant shade here, we have Polar Bear. Polar Bear probably out of his comfort zone here in this nice molten slaggish realm. We have Polar Bear pushing forward. Early start here, but no lab, oddly enough. We were going for the 4 mech start, a little unconventional, before we step into the lab, but I'm sure it will be out soon enough to contest this front spot. Yep, we see the resurrection bots out here. We should see these moving forward very quickly to eat up all of this delicious stuff back here. Although I guess we're prioritizing the energy that's just as well. Now, with this map here being all lava, that does mean that there's a lot more tech spots than usually. Typically these two spots here by Mr. Promo NL and Visigold. These two players here, typically they would be frontline support, and I think very likely that will be the case in this match. Same for Starry, Malpazona, and Gachiweeb right here. But it means that this player over on this side is in a bit of an interesting position. They can either help the front line, or they could maybe go for aircraft, try and contest this side. Not sure exactly what the right option is, but there's definitely some choices there. Of course, you have your two backline techers, which are probably going to be doing the exact same thing that they would be doing in a normal game. Just sitting around and teching up. And then we have this position. I call it the C lane position here. For our red team, we have Jedicator. Anyway, this position is now suddenly a tech position because, well, you're not going to be harassed from this side very much. Wow. Deathcore Krieg, 40k. Now, I guess a 40k fan, also very, very interested in spreading the good word. Their good word, anyway. Making sure that everyone is aware that they are an artiste at heart. Interestingly enough, we do see an air lab already. I mean, sort of what we were predicting here. Air lab coming out. We have a vehicle lab here. That's kind of interesting for St. Pepper's, but the mirrored position here, Eggman has already gotten air lab out. We have the fighters out to contest any fighters on this side. Luckily for him, his opponent is going for a bot lab, so this will be completely uncontested, which I think is actually going to lead to a tremendous advantage over the long run here. I love to see it. Polar Bear taking a commanding lead here as a bunch of pawns manage to push through and actually find some back lines. Yep, they bring down some incisors here. Bring down a whole lot of stuff, actually. They will eventually get mopped up by a couple of grunts, but not before making a tear through this side of the map. Very nicely done. Shartuk taking that time to push the advantage here, claiming these forward metal extractors. Justice. Oh, I thought it was just delicious, but it's Justice Delicious. Or maybe it's just Ice Delicious. I'm a big ice fan. I do enjoy chomping on an ice here and there, although it's really bad for my teeth. I have extremely tough teeth, though, so I guess it's fortunate for me that I do, and my ice chomping habits are not detrimental to my health. But just ice delicious. I'm gonna call you that because it's pretty funny, even though you're probably just as delicious. Pushing the front line here, I guess that's what I was trying to say after all that. Leorio is letting this metal extractor go uncontested here. I think Polar Bear would be wise to put a metal extractor down here. These ones in the middle are worth quite a bit more, and so a metal extractor here would pay for itself quite nicely, quite quickly, if you manage to get a metal extractor down. We definitely need to see one on this line right here. This is also worth 4.5. Let me show you that really quickly. You can see not 4.5, 4.3, very close. Yeah, we definitely need to see some metal extractors up. This reclaim is only half worth it when you're not extracting metal out of the ground. 4.3 metal per second, and that's 2 of them, so that, you know, that would be 8.6 by my humble calculation. That's a tremendous amount of metal. That over time is going to be a huge amount of metal difference if you can claim it. Now, Polar Bear is definitely not hurting for metal, but that's because there's not very many units out right now. We are very, very heavily lacking in energy production. I had to stop and think about what I wanted to say there. I was going to say sufficiently lacking, but that's a bit of a weird oxymoron, isn't it? To sufficiently lack something. That's a weird way to quantify not having anything. Anyway, what do we see as far as this side goes? We don't see an air lab on this southern area, so for the most part, we are just interested in, wow, building the Great Wall of the southern barricade. We do see a fighter sent out in this direction to scout this, and is going to find nothing. So I would love to see some of these constructors moving over there as well. This battle is a long one, so we'll probably be skipping through some of these parts here, but I do want to see who ends up claiming most of the map in the early game stages here. Geothermal plant is claimed nice and early by Jedicator. I do love to see that. Definitely going to be giving a technology advantage here, flooding a lot of resources to the team, and I think that's one thing that I could say about a lot of these players. I do consistently see these metal bars that are completely full to the brim. Not sure why we're not spending our metal so effectively here, but I think that's definitely something to work on. Backline players seem to be doing a little bit better of a job at that. We are both low on metal here, which is a relatively good thing. Interesting, a chainsaw coming up in the main base back here. I suppose it's good air defense, but I would much rather see it out here, you know, sort of like in this area, or, you know, maybe up on top of this thing. I think in the middle of the main base, I mean, if bombers came in, they'd be able to drop their bombs well before this chainsaw shot them down. So I'm not sure how much I like that positioning here. Anyways, taking another look at the front line, we can see that it is developing steadily. A lot of grunts here to push back these light laser turrets on the front line. Grunts, of course, outranging the pawns, so this is a matchup that favors the red player here. But it is a much more heavy metal advantage for the blue player. Polar Bear finally getting this metal extractor up. This is pretty late, I have to say, but better late than never, I suppose. And it is one more metal extractor than Leorio is going to be able to hold anyway, so still very nice. Getting these metal extractors also quite nice. At this point, Eggman is the only aerial player, it looks like. I suppose there's air back here, but this player hasn't really done any scouting, not really much of anything with the air lab aside from a few constructors. And even those aren't really being used to tremendous effect. It's mostly these construction turrets that are really providing the build power for all the functionality back here. Yeah, I think a couple of fighters would absolutely be necessary here. This is something that we've seen on that new map. I believe it's called Thermal Shock. There's some videos a while back that I covered that map, and it's a really fun one. It's a dynamic map, so it does change over time, which is really, really neat. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, so the trick to that map is that there's a big lava field in the northern section. It's one of those diagonal maps, so all the players spawn on one side over here, and then all the other players spawn over here, and kind of in these I guess you would call it opposing boxes or whatever. But anyway, there's a huge lava field up on the northern side of the map, and there's tons of little metal spots all over the place, and it's really important that you get air walls out here to contest all of this and control the big lava field. I think that's exactly what we need to see here, so indeed, Eggman going to have a tremendous metal advantage as he's now secured not only his lane's island of metal extractors, but also an entire other part of the map's metal extractors here. I believe these are just normal speed, yeah, 2.3, so they're not as OP as these ones in the middle. They're not super, super crazy. But definitely, you know, in grand total, that's going to be, what would that be? 6.9, so almost 7 metal per second here. Going to be a tremendous advantage for the green player here. Wouldn't even mind seeing the comm stacked here. This is basically a backline position, so I don't think I'd hate that one bit. See the comm stacked, go up to T2, start building a T2 economy right away. I think that would look lovely. Yeah, we're starting up the T2 lab right here. I think I agree with this player pretty much entirely. Only thing I'd change is sacrificing the commander to get that 2,000 metal, just so we could build this T2 lab even quicker. We could, of course, tear down the T1 lab, and then that would get us pretty close as well. I think with 30 metal income per second, though, we're actually doing really, really nicely. We're also still building defenses and stuff out of these guys as well, so we're not even putting all the metal towards, towards the lab at 1 second, one time here. So this could be a little bit faster, but I don't know if this player really needs to rush so much. This is interesting. We were turtling way, way, way too hard here. 2 chainsaws and 3 more queued up with, wow, so much metal storage. Why? Why do we do this? Come on, guys. Come on now. You don't need this much ever. There's no game where you're going to need 19,000 metal storage. Oh, boy. If we look at how much metal is in here, right? This is 2,310 metal. You could use that to build a T2 lab. Not to mention, I mean, if we look at both of these, the combined cost of both of these, you have the cost of a T2 lab right here. T2 lab is 2,900 metal. And then you could actually get a proper economy set up. But no, we're more interested in storing the metal that we don't have rather than using the metal that we have to get more metal. It just blows my mind every time. Shadow Man doing a much better job. We have the T2 lab up and running, so at least somebody who actually knows how to tech is taking a backline position here. Diavolo, if you're watching this game, I would highly recommend that you take a look at what Shadow Man is doing. You should have this replay accessible to you. Otherwise, you can pull it from the Beyond All Reason replay section on their website. Take a look at what Shadow Man is doing, or check out some of my guides on teching. I'm sure those will be helpful as well. If you haven't seen any of those guides, you should also take a look at those, because they would be tremendously useful if you're a new player and you're looking to get into the backline positions here, not sure where to start. Ooh, these bombers could do a lot of damage if they land on these windmills, but they haven't scouted them yet, so this is just raw, unfiltered bombing here. I think they saw this. Yeah. No. You gotta bomb. You gotta bomb. Turn around. Turn around. Okay, we're thinking about it. We're trying. We are trying. Yes. Yes. I think these will hit these energy converters. Oh, it gets shot down, though. Oh, it's still enough. That was extremely lucky. Still enough to make these windmills chain react, and all of that wind power is down the drain. The solar is also going to be shut down for a little while, too, so that is quite a pain for this player back here. Bombers inadvertently getting enough value out to justify themselves. Still, we see the air player with very, very few units back here. I guess there's 2 air players, and we do see some fighters out, but these fighters are not contesting anything where they need to be. They need to be over here, need to be up here. I think Eggman is doing a phenomenal job of recognizing that and taking that advantage early on. Look at this army spanning the entire width of the channel here. Really, really impressive stuff. Collapses down on these blitzes, wipes away most of them, using the speed of these pawns here to get the flanking bonus on a lot of those blitzes. Really nicely done. Justice Delicious also setting up a bit of a formation here, although I think I like the light blue one just a little bit more. And yeah, this is really interesting. Somehow we see more aggression on this lava map when it's all lava, as opposed to when it's water than when it isn't. I'm not sure why, but it sure is true. Look at all these corpses laying all over the place. I do wonder how much metal reclaim is available here. 1,889 metal. Yeah, that is quite a bit. Would love to see some res bots pumped out to the front there. One of the recent videos was about res bots and how efficient they are. Absolutely necessary to making your army infinitely scalable. Really, really love to see those res bots put on the front lines just to soak up all of this metal, or resurrect it, fold it back into your army. Both of those would be phenomenal. I think part of the reason why we see all this aggression here is because these players don't have the option to go for hovers, they don't have the option to go for airplanes, they have to support their front line, and there's not really a whole lot more they can do. We do see some eco-scaling. I guess we're going for these T1 energy converters. We should probably be stepping up to T2 this far away from the front line here. We've made our missile trucks, that's a great contribution. Now let's just step back. These are going to keep any aerial units like Shuriken or any kind of bombers and whatnot off of their tail. Wow, we already have a nuclear bomber, pardon me. I always cringe when I hear people say nuclear, but it also slips out. It's like a Freudian slip. I've corrected people so many times that now I say it. Ain't that just how it goes? Nuclear bomber here to lay down the smack, and it's going to try and devastate this front line here. Looks like it's going to tear apart this gauntlet here. It's going to tear apart this radar jammer, at least if it delivers its payload right where it says it's going to. Missile trucks aren't quite here yet, so this bomber doesn't have a whole lot to stop it. A few light turrets. Yeah, but it delivers its payload, and it wipes away that gauntlet. Is that a cost-effective way of dealing with that gauntlet? Probably not. Was it a brutally effective way of dealing with that gauntlet? You bet it was. Definitely getting the value, the expected outcome, I guess I should say. We wanted the gauntlet gone. We got the gauntlet gone. It's all that matters. And as a backline player, it's not really super important about being efficient with these units. I mean, it's always nice to be efficient with any unit you make, but certainly we're just trying to help the front line in any way that we can. And you know, taking down that gauntlet is surely one way to relieve a little bit of pressure here from that front line. Doesn't mean that air defenses are going to be popped up very, very quickly here. Another agitator being brought up to the front lines. And yeah, we're looking like the blue team is being pushed in just a little bit here. Snipers are finally moving forward here for the blue team, but we can see that Polar Bear is quite a bit stalled on energy production at the moment. We've got these advanced energy, or rather these advanced metal extractors coming up, which do eat up quite a lot of energy, so they're slowly whittling away at the energy production here, and we need to see a reactor or some advanced solar panels coming up much quicker. Now, I'm interested in what this green player is going to do, because they do have the geothermal plant over here, which is quite nice. Dovik is their name. Going for the fusion reactor, I think I quite like that. And yeah, we're using all of our energy, using all of our metal, so that's quite nice. I think we can even eat up these bot labs and just use them to make economy. I think right now it's a relatively steadily held front line. I would even pass off these units. I would consider just handing these hounds over. Hounding these hands over. I would consider passing these hounds over to one of these players on the front line and just letting them microlate, because they're going to be focused on this front line anyway. There's no point in diverting your attention to the front line and then back to your base and to the front line and back to your base like that. Just give them to a teammate. They'll be happy to have them, I'm sure. At this point, we're looking to upgrade these T2 mexes. How did we... Is there a T2 constructor here? I don't see one. We must have brought a constructor over there at one point and then brought it back. Or maybe... it's probably over here. Yeah, indeed. So yeah, we're starting up the T2 metal extractors over here. So yeah, Eggman with a tremendous amount of expansion here. I really, really like what they're doing. I think they have a really good vision of exactly what they should be going for in this match. Stalling in energy and building a fusion reactor to step up the energy production. I think it's phenomenal. We are making all the right moves. I am happy to see it. This does not bring a smile to my face. Yeah, we have a combined total of, let's see, 80, so 16, what is that, 24, 240. Yeah, 240 build power, plus another 180. We're up to like 400, shouldn't do math in a video. Anyways, we have nowhere near the build power to go for an advanced fusion reactor. We can see this is going to be done in, 11-ish minutes, right? We have 19 metal production here. We have, I just realized, yeah. I think this player might be brand new to the game. Hard to hand out criticism. Like, I think this is literally maybe their first game that they've played of Beyond All Reason, and for that, it's hard to hand out criticism. Like, you're trying your best. You're just learning what you should actually be going for here. So it's hard to hand out criticisms as mistakes here. We are starting up the T2 metal extractors, which is nice. Just for the record, just for everyone's sake. Any metal extractors that are put on a single source, they will split the income, but if you build the same metal extractor on one metal extractor spot, only one of them is going to be active. So you can see if I hover over this one, it says 2.3 down here in the bottom left-hand corner. You can see that it says plus 2.3. These ones, they cost 3 energy, but they don't produce anything. That's the reason why it's spinning. So yeah, that's a note for you, just if you're looking to expand your economy. Also, you don't need this much storage. You need maybe one of these storages and one battery, and that should last you the entire game. Diavolo saying please for these requests for energy. Doesn't want to give up his bank of 42,000 energy off of 224 energy production. Yeah, not a huge fan of what's going on right there. But learning. It's a learning opportunity, folks. That's the name of the game. Learning opportunity. We do see some of these scout planes headed out now, and they're about to discover that this island has been completely captured. Tons and tons of anti-aircraft there. Let's actually switch to the player view here. So we've detected all these anti-air turrets. We've detected a whole lot of this stuff. We finally get a view of what's actually going on over here. We see the bases of blue, purple, green. We see that Eggman is actually building tons of production here. We see the nuclear bombers even. Are these in the lava? Well, they're next to anti-air turrets anyway, so it doesn't matter. And these light anti-air turrets are going to make pretty short work of these scouting planes. And so this is the first read that the red team has of the green team here. Things are starting to look dire. A lot of turtling here. We're going to speed up the game. We're going to go up to 3x speed. A lot of these players are just turtling up on the front lines, trying to make sure that nothing can pass around them. But I think what we really should be doing is going for some drops on these lines over here, maybe going for some bombing runs. We do have a nuclear bomber out here. Let's see what we're targeting. Not a great hit. Goes down before it can get the second one. Took out those windmills, but we're already stepped out of those windmills. Not quite necessary anymore. So probably not the best hit that it could have done. Probably destroying this T2 lab would probably have been the best thing to target there. Don't know if we had vision for that though, so it might have just been a blind bombing run. At this point, yeah, I think we need to just scale these economies, reclaim these labs, put them into advanced fusion reactors, put them into energy converters, make sure that we're scaling this economy as quickly as possible. If you've already got an advanced fusion reactor built this quickly and you have regular fusion reactors, you do not need these advanced solar panels. They contribute 75 for 370 metal. If you look at this, that's 2,200 metal, which is well and away enough to finish up this building a whole lot quicker since you already have the energy production. Just little notes like that can help you scale up your economy. Maybe, you know, each one of these tips will help you scale your economy maybe 1 minute faster, but it's when it all adds up, you're going to be a couple minutes ahead of your opponent, and that's when things really start to add up nicely. A lot of units built up here on the front line. And I'm surprised we're not jumping straight to T3. Ooh, I say that right as a Thor hits the battlefield. Yeah, so we are jumping up to T3, which is quite nice. Jedicator actually pushing forward here with some Thors, followed by some Vanguards. That's very nice. We have the all-terrain heavy plasma spiders. Always love to see those because the plasma is by far my favorite part of this game here. Snipers moving forward, laying Daka down on this Thor, and you can see those things hurt. Bringing this down almost 20%. One volley of fire here from the snipers. Really, really difficult to push into those. As the Thor, though, you do have the missile. Let me slow this down for 1 second here. If I hit D, as in dog, you can see that you have this missile targeting system. You can actually launch EMP missiles onto the front lines. Really, really important for the Thor because it means you can paralyze things, march right forward, and nobody's going to be able to stop you. Really, really important mechanic that I often see overlooked by a lot of commanders. Really unfortunate to see. Anyway, we'll speed things back up here. Are we back up to 3x speed? There we are. Thors are trying to push through here. It looks like a lot of these riot tanks push through. Do quite a bit of damage. Thors make it into this base, and they're going to keep ravaging it. Ooh, nuclear bombers come out, though. And they do take it down. The Thors managed to take down a commander, though, before they end up falling as well, so I guess the trade was worth it. The Thors were also completely destroyed, or at least one of them was, so there will only be one wreck to resurrect here. So I think that's definitely a benefit as well. Nuclear bombers coming out and harassing St. Peppers, but St. Peppers wasn't really the technology center of this game, so definitely not as much damage as could have been done by those bombers. I think if you're going to commit to nuclear bombers, you might as well commit to about 4,000 scouting plane. Definitely need to make a couple T1 air labs and just spam out blinks as fast as you can, or Finches, I believe, are the Cortex equivalent. Those really cheap light scout units. And send them across the map, and you'll be really grateful for all that intelligence. You'll be able to target the enemy advanced fusion reactors with those nuclear bombers. I think it takes 2 of them, maybe 3, to destroy a advanced fusion reactor in 1 hit. So that's definitely always a solid option. This fusion reactor is really far forward on the front line. I mean, it's not like we can move it now, but kind of interesting to have it this far forward. We are seeing the Thor resurrected, which I think is a great move because we don't see T3 production out yet. You know, just like before, I said that. There's some Thors over here. Really hard to track all of this all at once. I'm really, really happy to see that the screen player, though, is committing to going for those T3 units instead of just confining themselves to teching up. I'd love to see these fusion reactors eaten up to pour the metal into the advanced fusion reactors. That's always another one of those efficiency things. it costs about 2 fusion reactors to make an advanced fusion reactor, but you get an extra, extra 1,000 metal or 1,000 energy out of it. So always consider that if you're building a fusion reactor or an advanced fusion reactor, you can always fund the later half of it by disassembling your advanced fusion reactor, your regular fusion reactor. Sorry if that was confusing. Two fusion reactors becomes 1 advanced fusion reactor. That's all I'm trying to say. Tons of these T1 bombers coming out here. Yeah, I mean, it's a nice little firestorm. They do blow up most of the production turrets here, the construction turrets. So at the very least, production is going to be completely halted. We do see a T1 constructor brought back here, conveniently placed out of the bombing range there, so that was nice. Luckily, we had these Arbalist, the anti-air flat guns, so that was really nice for making sure that all of that was shut down. So what's the plan here? What's our game ender plan? We have a nuke. We have several nukes, actually. We're building nuke number 2. These are Cortex nukes, so they take forever to charge. So you have to really place them strategically. You have to make sure you scout you're choosing the right spot. I'd love to see them go for some EMP shenanigans, since you're basically committed to being an air player. Make a ton of EMP bombers, try and shut down a nuclear anti-nuke position here. We see nukes coming out of the blue team as well, also trying to counter-nuke the enemy, but there's well and away enough anti-nukes here to block any nuclear attempts. Very nicely done by the red team to cover all their bases. The shield generators are a little bit over the top. You're not really going to get harassed by any Navy units, I don't think. So I don't think the option of like a big siege thing is going to be a real big problem. Now we see the fighters coordinating with the bombers. Look at that. Now that is nice. Yeah, very well. Well, a lot of those fighters flew right over anti-air defenses. That's not great. But aside from that, very nicely done. Actually surprised with how little damage that did. I still would have expected those fusion reactors to go up. Something must have been terribly, terribly wrong there. Red asking if it's time to go. What do we have on this front line? Looks like a whole bunch of Thors, a whole bunch of Vanguards. Vanguards are trying to fire away here. I'd love to see some tactical nukes built on the front line or some EMP missiles. You could definitely build a big array of EMP missiles here. We do have one right here. Yeah, build like 4 of these and then just target this entire front line with EMP missiles and then march forward. I think that's a really, really powerful strategy. We should have the scouting information. Not quite enough here. That was only 3. We're going to need about 5. It's 5 to overwhelm 1 that's pretty close. It's about 9 to overwhelm 1 that's far away. And this would be considered close, this distance from here to here. But from ends to end would definitely be around 9. That's just for 1 anti-nuke, right? So this already has 2, so you're going to need a whole lot more as well. This I like to see. A whole lot of scouts being pumped out, just like I suggested earlier. Scouts and bombers being simultaneously built. This is a great way to make sure that at the very least you get the scouting information you need, even if the bombing isn't successful. A lot of enemy Titans and Thors pushing forward here. But there's also tons of defense. We have loads and loads of mammoths out here on the front lines, catapults laying down Daka. Tons of EMP going down on this red Titan here against the green. And it looks like most of these are actually bombed up. I'm not sure exactly what paralyzed all of this, but whatever it was, did a phenomenal job. Was it this paralyzer missile? Yeah, it's actually got a few bars, so it must have been. Very nicely done paralyzing all that stuff. That's very good to see. I'm just going to turn it down a little bit. It's getting a little bit loud in here. Keep the music nice and high. You see these Titans moving forward, or rather a Titan and a Juggernaut. Titan and a Thor, I mean, sorry. Yeah, going to be shut down by all of the late game units here. So I guess when you don't have Navy, this turns into a slog right in the middle of the map. I guess that shouldn't be surprising. You do see Juggernauts coming out here. I'd love to see some stealth units, maybe. Ooh, Titans routed right through the lava. The Titans can actually stand it, so that's kind of interesting. Interesting to maybe send a Titan through the lava where they're least expecting it. take a bunch of damage, but it would certainly appear out of place. Route a Titan this way. I wonder how much damage it would take if you routed a Titan through the lava in this direction. I'm not sure. I'd be curious to see, though. So much T3 on the front lines here. This is where it becomes really, really necessary to build those reclaim bots, those resurrection bots. Even if you don't reclaim all of this, you can resurrect it and put it back in your army, and it's just one less thing that you have to produce out of your T3 gantry. It also lets you get those T3 units out without actually having a T3 gantry, right? Enough T1 res bots become T3 units. Catapults here, trying to fight off this tick spam. This is not the right solution, though. You definitely want to go for a Juno. Just start Junoing this entire front line repeatedly. I think that's probably the best option. Yeah, we have loads and loads of nukes coming out here, but definitely nowhere near enough. Diavolo's got 3. We've got, looks like, let me use this back here, 3 as well. Yeah, we're never going to pierce the anti-nuke shield with just 3 nukes. So for at least now, this is going to be a stalemate. Very nice. We do see a Juno coming down here now, which is very nice to see. Going to be destroying all of these ticks that run into this, basically wasting all of that metal from all of these production facilities. See, each one of these costs about a little over a metal per second. It's probably averages out to about 2 metal per second. We need to just trigger the consistent Juno alert, though. A lot of bombers trying to go in for something here, but there's just so much anti-air defense. They eventually get overrun. Need some metal. Indeed you do. Don't we all? Really fond of what's happening here. Although it looks like a chaotic mess, I do like to see it. We're expanding, and that's the important part here. Do we need more energy, or do we need more energy converters? Looks like both. Actually fairly well balanced here. I have to give huge kudos to Eggman, doing a great job of producing units here. We can see we're pumping out a Titan every like 30 seconds. Oh, that's a Thor, actually. Still, a Thor in 30 seconds is also impressive. Those are very expensive, 9,000 metal. But on top of that, we're also producing these scouts, right? We're producing a whole bunch of different stuff. Not producing out of the T2 lab. I think I'd like to see maybe some Hornets, some EP bombers. You could maybe go for some nuke bombers as well. There's a whole host of options that you could really go for. But Green definitely doing a great job of holding this front line. I think now is the time for Polar Bear to start teching upwards. Indeed, that's exactly what we see right here. Starting the advanced fusion reactor. Well, actually almost finishing the advanced fusion reactor. We can tear down some of these fusion reactors in order to pull off the metal that we need in order to finish up this fusion reactor, advanced fusion reactor. I'm trying to simultaneously read chat and commentate. It says we need a Cortex slap down tactical nuke launcher. I think I absolutely agree. That'd be really, really nice to have a nuke launcher that can just ravage this front line for a while. At this point, we just see hundreds of ticks flooded at each other. The ticks are powerful, but you need to be a little bit more strategic with them, unfortunately. I would love to see them routed in such a way that they disperse properly. So have them spread out like this, and then run down in a even distribution like that. That's going to guarantee you the most surface area, and it's going to spread out all of the enemy fire in such a way that maybe a few of those ticks are going to slip a little bit closer, but honestly, I don't think anything's going to get past all of these units right here. There's just no way. Enemy Junos now, shutting down the tick production here. I think that's exactly what we need to see. More and more Junos. Oh, we have an economy expansion out here on these islands. This is quite nice. Although this is a bit undefended. I mean, these Mercuries are going to do a good job of shooting down any air defenses. They each have 5 missiles, so, you know, you send 10 scouts out, and you're gonna have very good luck bombing all that. So, something to keep in mind. A lot of dragons being produced here. That's very nice to see. We also see this guy going for a whole lot of metal storage. I don't know why they do this. I'm not sure why the metal storage is so crucial here. Just if you could just spend the metal, you're going to be in a much better spot. Building a lot of anti-air defenses too, but again, these air defenses are so far back that by the time these start shooting at something, the bombers are already close enough to drop their payload, especially if they come in from this side, which they likely would, one side of the sea. I have to say that the northern team has a very shoddy air defense here. We have a kind of patchwork wall of fighters. Visigold somehow has 2 commanders. That's kind of interesting. Yeah, sort of a patchwork of fighters here, but I don't think it'd be enough if they were to all out produce fighters and send them in here. You can see 3 different players. Is it 3 or 2? Actually, it looks like just 2 different players going for air units, going for these fighters. So I think the fighter wall there could definitely pierce through. It's a matter of dealing with all the air defenses on the ground, though, right? See a Ragnarok almost put together here. Great use of resources. We're up to 760 metal per second here. Yeah, I think a Ragnarok is well justified within that economy scale. And this is a great position, too. It can actually fire on this base here. It could probably... I can't quite reach this one because of this mountain range here. You can definitely pull apart this front line here as well, though. Might even be able to scratch some of the base over here. Yeah. There's some advanced fusion reactors it could definitely target. So actually, that's a really, really good position to remember for a Ragnarok. Very, very, very important to keep that in mind for future games. Of course, the mirrored position would be right over here for the southern team, the red team here. I'm excited to see. We're actually going for a second one. That's epic. Calamity somewhere here. Forget the second Ragnarok. Is the Ragnarok and the Calamity the same price? I'm curious about that. 63,000 for a Ragnarok versus a Calamity. I need to find a T2 Cortex constructor here. Armada, 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 Armada. Oh no. Well, it looks like this is the Armada team. I hadn't realized it until now. But yeah, it looks like that's entirely Armada here. Let's see. T2 constructor. There you are. Calamity, 61,000. Ah, okay. So the Calamity is actually a little bit cheaper. That's interesting to know. Yep, we see the Ragnarok starting to fire. It's bouncing these shells off of these plasma shields here, but that might accidentally launch these a whole lot further in a lot of random directions that you wouldn't expect. Piercing through the defenses here, it's really hard to keep up shields against a Ragnarok of any scale. Ragnarok or Calamity. Trying to overwhelm nukes, but we still don't have enough. Nowhere near enough. Red is dying indeed. Or ding, as he said. Push with bombers. Let's see, we've got a bombing run coming out here. How's it gonna work? That's the question of the day. These are just... oh no, they are T2 bombers. Oh, it's a mixture of T2 and T1 bombers. We've got Stormbringers and Blizzards all mixed into one composition here. Very nice. Wow, that is a rain of bombs. A hellfire of bombs, if you will. One of these behemoths goes down, but there's still 2 more to push the forward lines. Those bombers do end up falling. This Ragnarok is not getting its value's worth. It's fighting this or is it fighting that, or is it actually shooting beyond that? We have a Calamity up here. That's quite nice. Looks like we're targeting this area for some reason. I'm not quite sure why. So many Titans. Let's get a look at this. The Titan band. This is an epic battle. This is what late game T3 should look like. Just an absolute slugfest. You can see this guy is protected by a whole array of shields as well, so we're deflecting most of the plasma projectiles. Still a few of them under a bit of fire here. Ragnarok is not getting a tremendous amount of value. Mostly this Ragnarok and Calamity are just like shooting at each other. Trying to shoot each other down, but there's plasma deflectors in the way, so everything is kind of just going in the wrong direction here. I don't think this Ragnarok is actually firing. Yeah, it's just firing into this. It's kind of poor control there. I guess green is busy microing other things. Should definitely set this Ragnarok to be controlled by something else. Or attacking something else anyway. Oh, these are all clustered up. They're going to get destroyed by the Mercuries. Yeah, that sucks. Really, really poor scouting there. That is unfortunate to see. These bombers are going to be blasted down by the Mercuries as well, because they're all clumped up together. Yeah, those are made very short work of. So that is unfortunate to see. Definitely need to spread out your bombers if you're going to be going for any bombing late runs like that. For now, the Ragnarok is now completely passive. And we're throwing the tremendous lead that we have here. I wonder if this player has even spotted anything back here. Yeah, what the heck? We know about these bases back here. How did we not immediately start targeting these, right? It's totally within range. Yeah, I do not know. We're just using this Ragnarok here to oppress the front lines, but I really don't think that's where it should be firing. I think he could be doing a much better job fighting this backline player here. Starry Malpazona is should definitely be the target here of the Ragnarok's wrath, but just narrowly escaping it by a case of bad micro. Indeed, we can see this Ragnarok being much more useful here, tearing apart the backline production for Visigold. So yeah, I think this Calamity might have actually been the game winner here. Ooh, Polar Bear standing right next to the Ragnarok, and he gets blown up, taking the whole thing down with me. Wow. The scale of this battle, I mean, you just have to appreciate it at some point. It's just tremendous. I'm not sure why these bombers aren't going in from the sides here. Seems like a really obvious weak point to just attack from the sides as opposed to just bombing the front lines. Maybe that's just me, but I tend to think that the front lines aren't really where I'd want to use my bombers. I'd rather send them into something along a more vulnerable path. They get shot down by fighters. It looks like we have a lot of Titans moving forward here. There are a lot of them getting stuck. Not sure how to handle themselves. They're just moving and grooving. No complaints, just a positive mental attitude. You'll love to see it. And now they've stopped. They've given up all hope. This is a problem I see a lot. I'm not sure why Titans stop moving. If you've got Titans, they definitely should be moving towards the enemy's base at all times, once they're holding a front line. Virtually no fighter wall as well for this blue team, so I think they are rapidly crumbling under the pressure here. Visigold taking over this player. I'm not sure which color this player was originally here. I think it was the dark green player. Yeah. Taking over the dark green player's base. And I'm not sure why they even left. They were one of the few players that actually had a base left. Titan here, 14%. It's going to make it into the back reaches of this now Visigold's base. Two commanders here just spooning it out. Bro on bro commander action. Yeah, the Juggernaut spots that, or rather the Titan spots that, and it's just like, what should I do about this? Looks like that player will tap out as well. The blue team has lost its Sputzma. It is completely out of juice. They're no longer willing to fight. I think they've been devastated here. Well, this is interesting. Using these, what are they called, abductors? Yeah, they're a really weird one. Using these abductors in order to paralyze this Titan that is at 1%. Yeah, we've got 1,231 health on that bad boy. I'd love to see like a single bomber go attack that. Or something like that anyway. Can this Calamity actually reach that far? Wow, it can reach super far. Yeah, it really can just completely destroy the base back here. We see all of the energy converters lighting up. Completely wiped away here. Phenomenal control on that Calamity there. That Calamity has absolutely won this game. We find a place where the anti-nuke is weak, and that base gets completely wiped out as well. Now it's just the shadows of Purple's base. There's no economy left. We're just the production structures are all that's left, and we see the two backline players here with what they managed to produce: 2 advanced fusion reactors, 9 T1 batteries, and a whole lot of nuclear launchers that are never ever going to pierce this amount of anti-nukes. Interesting play here. We are dropping a few Starlight over in this direction. It's kind of interesting. Again, the Mercuries are very powerful, and those get destroyed immediately. I don't think that player has ever encountered a Mercury before. Ooh, Titan manages to walk on over in this direction. Finds a pathway to destroy these back lines, and I think that is all she wrote for this blue team. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you might have learned something, maybe about the early game tech, what you should and shouldn't do. And I hope this has been an interesting look. I think it's really, really interesting to have a look at this map with no naval supremacy here. Ooh, I'm curious about this Titan. Yeah, it looks like it's barely taking any damage. There goes the blue team. Finally caving in after all that pressure. phenomenal job holding up there. Eggman doing a wonderful job of scaling up the economy, but unfortunately just couldn't pull through with that Ragnarok. If you guys like this video, feel free to drop a like down below. It really helps the algorithm figure out that my content is worth showing to people. Helps my channel get discovered, and I really appreciate it. But more importantly, I would love to hear a comment from one of you guys, or any of you guys, or you specifically right there behind the camera. I'd love to hear from you, what you think about this match, how you feel about Supreme Straits in general. Just any thoughts down below. I'm happy to talk to you guys. Do read all those comments. And above all else, I hope you have a phenomenal rest of your day.